This is the 101, and welcome guys to the first episode of 101 Talks WWE 2K16, the series, as many of you will know, where we're going to talk about anything and everything concerning this year's upcoming game. From news, rumours, concepts and general discussion, you're going to find all that and more right here in this series. So if you're not already and want to stay up to date with all my 2K16 videos, be sure to subscribe to the channel. So intro out of the way, on this episode guys, we are taking a look at the superstars and potential superstars that we have in 2K15 that are not going to make the cut to 2K16, therefore have been 2K future endeavoured. Now there is actually some really big names on this list, some certain not to be on the game, with some other superstars with just several question marks over them. I also want to point out before we do get into the video properly, we're going to be focusing and including the superstars on the main roster, so no legends and no DLC. So let's get straight into this, and in no particular order, first up we have got Alberto Del Rio. Now keeping in mind the usual cut-off date for these games is normally around WrestleMania time or slightly after, Alberto Del Rio left the company in August of last year, so he looks to be one of the more bigger names, looks set to be 2K future endeavoured from 2K15 going into 2K16. Another superstar that parted ways with the company last year is Justin Gabriel. Now I think it's fair to say a lot of us were surprised to see his inclusion in 2K15 given his lack of TV time in recent years, and given the fact he has now left the company in January of this year, Gabriel also looks set to have been 2K future endeavoured as we head into 2K16. Now next up we've got a superstar in a much different situation. We have got Y2J Chris Jericho. Now obviously Jericho hasn't been fired at all, and in fact seems to be on great terms with the company, even like the series of live events early this year, but in terms of being on TV as part of the main roster, that has not happened since late last year, so whilst he's certainly not guaranteed to not be on the game, I think there is a general slight question mark over there, so he's made the list just for that reason, but do keep in mind he is on good terms with the company, so hopefully, if not on the main roster, we will still have Chris Jericho on the game, potentially as a legend. Now that is somewhat a similar situation to the next superstar on the list. We have got Batista. So Batista came back early 2014 and worked for the company for about 6 months. That was obviously enough to get him onto last year's game, but this year, not quite the same story as he's not being seen. So unless he's another legend from the game, Batista is potentially another big name that is not going to be included on this year's upcoming game. Again, we are sticking with another superstar with a question mark over my head. We have got RVD. Now RVD's most recent run of the company ended in August of last year, so much like Jericho and somewhat Batista, his spot on the game as part of the main roster is certainly in doubt. Now I wouldn't be surprised if RVD isn't on the game, but fingers crossed we will get RVD in the game in some form, potentially again as a legend. Now back to superstars who look set to miss out on the game for sure and look to beat 2K future endeavoured, we have got Rey Mysterio. Now Mysterio is no longer with the WWE, as we all know. He is now applying his trade back in Mexico and hasn't wrestled a match for the WWE since the night after WrestleMania 30. Given all that, Mysterio looks to be one of the biggest names set to beat 2K future endeavoured as we head to this year's upcoming game, which is kind of a shame considering Rey's been on the game series now since SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, which is pretty crazy. So yeah, Rey Mysterio, another big name, looks set to be 2K future endeavoured. Next up on the list, we have got Corey Graves, another superstar. I think it's fair to say a lot of us were surprised to see featured in 2K15 as a playable superstar. And since that time, Graves, as we know, has been forced to retire from in-ring competition. So in terms of being on the game as a playable superstar, Graves looks likely to have made his one and only appearance in the series in the current edition of the game. Now next up, we have got the only diva to be featured on the list, and that is AJ Lee. Now AJ Lee's inclusion on 2K16 basically comes down to when 2K decided to lock down the roster and when the cut-off date actually was, because her departure from the company, as we know, is very recent, so she's potentially just made it on, but as I say, depending on when the cut-off date was, she is also potentially not on the game. So on the list, could go either way, but potentially AJ Lee has been 2K future endeavoured nonetheless. Now finally on the list, keeping arguably the biggest name to last, but certainly a superstar a lot of you guys are going to miss playing as, we have got CM Punk. So CM Punk only made it onto last year's game because 2K was already too deep in the 2K showcase mode, which as we know CM Punk was a major part of. Now this year it's obviously a completely different story, and that is presumably not going to be the case. And for the time being at least, you've got to assume CM Punk has made his final WWE game appearance on 2K15. So like I said, arguably the biggest name on this list that is not going to be featured in 2K16. Therefore, CM Punk looks set to be the final superstar on this list and the final superstar that has been 2K future endeavoured. So there we go, a few really big names that now look set to no longer be part of the series, with a few other names in doubt as well. But guys, out of all those names we mentioned in the video, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what superstar or superstars you'll miss playing as the most in 2K16, and let me know if I've missed anyone in the video who you think is also not going to make the cut for the next game. Hopefully guys, you have enjoyed this video. Like I said, this is the first episode in the brand new series of 101 Talks 2K16, and that in mind, it will be awesome for this video to get some good feedback. So if you have enjoyed it and want to see more of this series on a regular basis, then be sure to drop the video a big thumbs up, and also be sure to leave me a comment down below as well. However, that is going to be it for this one, but stay tuned for another episode of 101 Talks 2K16 coming to the channel very soon. And until next time, this has been 101, and I will see you all on the next one.